Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Degree to Dollars podcast. This is the show where we dive into the challenges and successes that grads face as they transition from the educational to the professional world. We'll be covering topics like in-demand skills, interview strategies, negotiating your first salary, and much, much more. Our goal is to provide you with practical insights and advice to help you kickstart your career. Today, we're excited to have a special guest with us, Michallia Marks. Michallia holds a Bachelor of Commerce at Humber Polytechnic for Digital Business Management. She's made impressive strides in marketing technology and product marketing, and she's here to share her journey, experiences, and tips for breaking into the working world. Welcome to the show, Michallia. We're thrilled to have you here to share your insights with our listeners.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yay.
All right. So just to start off the show, what inspired you to make your move from Jamaica to Toronto and your decision to pursue a degree in the Bachelor of Commerce in Digital Business Management at Humber College?
So what inspired my journey? I have my Associate of Science degree in Management Information Systems, and since the age of around 14 or 15 years old, I always knew that I had an interest in technology and business. And so during that program, I realized that you had folks in that program who were highly technical and some that were more on the business side. And I realized that oftentimes there's a disconnect between those two groups. And so I realized also that I understand the technology side, I have an interest in it, and I also have a knack for business. So at that time, I'm like, okay, what if I could make a career bridging the gap between these two groups of people? And so having that realization, I kind of set out to research in different schools abroad. Initially, I was targeting the States. So I found a particular school in New York that I was I had the intention to go and study and so forth. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, which was a bit disappointing at the time.
Naturally.
But eventually, my mom, she actually told me about Humber College it was college at the time. Heard that it's Polytechnic now. So at that time, she told me that they were doing like a recruitment drive for students. So she said, why don't you apply for it, see if they have any programs that you're interested for, because she knew I was interested in studying internationally, see if there's anything you're interested in, and then take a shot for it. So I researched, and I don't know, one thing that really stood out to me with Humber was their marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever does the marketing for the school, like that group, they are doing a phenomenal job.
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the big reasons why I signed up to Humber as well. I had other options like Seneca or Conestoga, but Humber just stood out to me.
Yeah, because while I was diving into the website and, diving more into the different programs to try to figure out which I'm most interested in, I don't know, I just started to feel like I was a part of the community. And for me, one of the key selling point also was it's more of the classroom setting. It's more of an intimate type of setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't want to be in an environment where it was hundreds of people in the class. For me, I wanted something more community oriented, and I found that with Humber. And so I initially applied for the computer engineering program because I wanted to continue along that technology route, but I wasn't gravitating too much towards that program. So when I saw digital business management, I realized that this is still business, but it still had some technology aspect to it. So I'm like, you know what, this is what I want to do. I think at that time, and even now, I think it complements my associate's degree in management information systems because it's technology and business. So I'm like, let's take a shot and go for it. So
yeah, absolutely. I was looking into getting into a technology field as well. I applied to computer science. I applied to IT programs. But I felt like Humber's digital business management program in particular kind of encompassed a lot of the things that I was interested. Not only does it promote, coding such as mobile development, but it also really emphasizes business strategies through courses like product management. And in addition, it just kind of gives you a really good idea of how to
Yeah.
pursue a career and the skills you need to sort of set yourself up for something within the digital business sphere.
Yeah, I agree because I think also one of the beauty of the program is that you get to explore, as you said, like different areas. So mobile development, web development,
Yeah.
product management, digital marketing. So but you're exposed to all these different areas. So you get a feel for what they are. And so you can decide, okay, I'm interested in this. I'm not so interested in this. So for me, I saw that as a plus.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we were discussing this earlier before we started recording the podcast, I did do some work for the CRA, which is primarily in the accounting sector. But the courses I've taken, some accounting courses and some more just financial literacy courses in general, really set myself up for an opportunity like that. And I think it can do the same, and not just an accounting perspective, but
Yeah.
pretty much across the board.
Yeah.
And that's really one of the beauties of Humber. It offers such just a plethora of courses that will fit your specific niches and needs.
I agree.
So, going back to your time at Humber, you were involved in several societies like the Digital Business Student Association and the Student Leadership Academy.
Yeah.
So, how would you say that these experiences contributed to your personal and professional growth as well?
Yeah, so I was involved in quite a few things. As I told you, we were talking offline, that when I started during 2018, I started winter 2018 to the time of COVID when we were on campus. I was involved in so many things. You mentioned Digital Business Student Association, DBSA, Student Leadership Academy. Interestingly, before I started studying here, when I was in Jamaica and I was researching on the website, I intentionally started to select the organizations that I wanted to be a part of. So the DBSA, I started volunteering there, and eventually I think if I had a few positions, but eventually I became the president for that association. And so we hosted, prior to COVID, we hosted a lot of in-person events where we carried alumni to do workshops and, I think it was called Digi Week or something, Tech Week. I believe it was called Tech Week. Yeah. So we did quite a lot of workshops, and so that really helped me personally to develop my communication skills. Because eventually when we moved virtually, we did a lot of virtual interviews because, of course, we couldn't do it in person. So we did a lot of virtual interviews. We had to kind of like plan and execute the whole event with the help of the guests that we had and so forth. So that really helped me personally, giving me a taste of what it's like to interview people. One of the things that I learned is that you don't just select random questions. You have to be quite intentional with the questions you're asking to, I guess, get the response that you really want from your guests. So that was an amazing opportunity. I met so many students in our program. Student Leadership Academy, that was phenomenal also, because they had, when I was here, I'm not sure about now, but when I was here, they had a leadership retreat where you applied for it and they selected a group of around 50, 60 students. And for the weekend, you would actually go to Aurelia, I believe it's called.
Oh, yeah.
So we all paid for, and it was just a phenomenal weekend where they trained us in leadership, different workshops and so forth. So me being a student of leadership, that really helped me to kind of starting to own in more on my leadership skills. And eventually I started facilitating different sessions for them and so for leadership workshops. And so, I also was involved in the base. I think they've rebranded it now, but when I was here, it was called Black Academic Success and Engagement. And during my time there, I served as a special projects assistant. So I planned a lot of events I was at the North Campus, so various events for students, really honing in on my project management skills and also my networking skills and marketing skills, because you had to market these events
exactly.
to
You
attract
have to market
students
yourself,
to get here. So, I mean, with those three organizations, personal, professional, my communication skills improved, my project management skills, also my ability to build relationship. I actually didn't know that was a skill until one of my managers here pointed it out to me. And I said to her, I remember I said to her one day, I realized that I'm pretty good with connecting with people and building relationships with them and connecting people from different spheres. And she's like, do you know that's a skill? I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, it's a skill. Not everyone can do that.
It's a very, very tough skill to master, but it's an excellent skill to learn.
It is. So that's something that I developed while being a part of those organizations, and eventually I carried them over into my professional life, and also they've also helped me personally because my confidence started to be built. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I've met some people from the DBSA, and they're phenomenal people. They've helped me grow my network. They've essentially allowed for more opportunities within my own career to develop and grow. I think that one of the most important parts of school is joining these extracurricular associations and attending these events, because not only will you be able to meet people later on, which can help you advance your career, but it's also a good way to get more confidence within yourself and within your own skills, just as you mentioned. And those soft skills, even though they're not talked about as much, are very, very important.
Yeah. And, and for me, you remember I said that I was very intentional with what I wanted to join. That was for a reason. Because when I was in my previous college, when I was pursuing my associate's degree, I was practically an A student. I got all the awards. I got the good grades, the scholarships, and so forth. But I realized that after I finished, when I was reflecting on my college experience, I realized that I didn't have a balanced college life. I was heavy on the academics, and of course, you go to school for that. That's one of your primary reasons for going there. But I realized that there's so much more to the college experience than just solely focusing on the academics. Being involved in these different organizations and serving on committees and so forth, it really, as you mentioned, it really helps to develop certain skills and what people refer to as soft skills, which are very, very important. So for me, I said that I'm going into college again. I want to do extremely well in academics because I want to secure those scholarships and those awards. They don't hurt. But I also wanted to be more involved in other, extracurricular activities and meet more people and just kind of like develop personally and professionally. So that was very important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And for many people coming out of high school, college is a great way to expand your bubble, because a lot of the times when we're more or less concentrated into these smaller communities at home, we kind of get placent or we don't truly understand other perspectives. But coming to college, you meet people from all walks of life, and it really helps you also just discover yourself.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
And also you get to meet people from different programs.
Yeah.
You may never be in any classes with them, but creating that relationship with them, you just never know how that may come in handy 5 years from now. You just never know.
Yeah, it could be a great business opportunity, or it could just be a great friend in general.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much, Michallia, for being such a great guest. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to show you a word from our sponsors. Thank you.
Welcome to the Sense and Sensibility podcast, where we teach students how to budget, where to bank, safe versus risky investments, and overall how to better their financial literacy. Learn how to make informed financial decisions from our expert guests in the different financial fields who will keep you educated and entertained on how to better your financial future. You can find us at digipod.ca. Make every cent make sense on the Sense and Sensibility podcast. See you soon.
So, Michallia, you specialize in areas like marketing technology and product marketing post-Humber. What core skills did you develop at Humber that proved invaluable when transitioning into these roles?
So one of the programs that I was a part of while I was here, it was called Humber Online Solutions. I believe that has been rebranded. So basically, different students from different programs. I think it was media, our program digital business. I think even at one point we had fashion students. But basically, we would work with small businesses within the GTA, and we would help them to build their marketing presence. So I was focused on mainly web development, and at 1 year, I believe I did content strategy, so a lot of writing and so forth. So that was that experience. I actually leveraged that. I think I was a part of that project for about 2 or 3 years. So all the experiences that I got from that project, I eventually leveraged them in different interviews. So that was the ability to manage client relationships. That was very important because you were working with different clients. So learning how to do that was very important because it even led me to start freelancing on my own. Because, the work that I was producing, someone told someone and then someone reached out to me. So eventually I started freelancing and so forth. And so, so I would say core skills, managing client relationships, very important. Project management skills, very, very important for, of course, if you're running any sort of business or projects. And I'd say again, communication skills, because of course you communicate every
Exactly,
day.
yeah.
But also digital marketing skills, whether it was as it pertains to design, as it pertains to writing. I mentioned content strategy and, of course, web designing. So those skills, I developed them while here at Humber, and eventually they served me in those careers.
Yeah, absolutely. The hands-on experience that Humber can offer through these courses is invaluable, especially when you're actually going to local businesses and seeing how they operate. So, moving on to the career aspect, you have developed skills across management, CMS, and business-to-business marketing. What skills do you find most important in your role as a marketing technology specialist?
I'd say the top 3 skills would be: 1, you have to have an interest in technology. And for me, I particularly work with marketing technology. So you have to have an interest in that, interested in learning the ins and outs of these technologies, interested in teaching others who may not be so technologically savvy on how to use these tools, creating processes and so forth. So like having that interest in technology, it's important. If you don't, then may not be for you. Secondly, I'd say you have to have an appetite for problem solving. In my day-to-day job, most times when people message me, there's some sort of problem.
Yeah.
There's some sort of issues.
Always putting out fires, yeah.
Yes. And so you have to have that motivation to figure it out. Is it that you're going to try to problem solve on your own? Is it that you're going to utilize whatever resources are available to you, whether it's support for that particular technology? So having that appetite for solving problems and not being intimidated or overwhelmed from that's also very important. And I'd say third, again, communication is so important in my role, even though I'm more of a behind the scenes person in my role, because I help to manage the tech stack at my company. But my customers or internal stakeholders, so folks who are using these technologies. So I have to create processes. I have to do requirements gathering to understand what the issues are, what gaps we're trying to solve, how we're going to use the different technologies we have how we're going to leverage them to solve or to close that gap, creating documentations that people can use and creating them where they are simple and as basic as possible where people don't get
Yeah.
confused.
You have to
So
develop it for the lowest common denominator. Yeah.
because oftentimes, sometimes people can be quite resistant to. People are naturally resistant to change, but especially when it comes on to technology change, there is an extra
Oh, yeah.
resistance.
I was talking to my grandma the other day
Yeah.
about cell phones. I can understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so being able to communicate some more, and in my role, I hope sometimes I run training sessions and so forth for, especially for the recent project that we just launched. So I'd say those are the top three skills. I'd say having communication, having an appetite for problem solving, and having an interest in technology.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not interested in what you're doing, then
Yeah.
how are you going to have a successful career to begin with? You're going to burn out.
Yeah, and you're doing
Yeah.
it every day. So
Exactly. So, going back to when you first started in your role,
Yeah.
landing a role in the marketing tech field can be very, very competitive. So, how did you position yourself when job searching, and were there specific projects or experiences at Humber which that helped you stand out?
Well, as I mentioned, the Humber Online Solutions program
yeah.
that I was a part of, that was very helpful. I leveraged that. Also, the web development course. That was one of my favorite courses here.
Oh yeah, I remember that course.
You
Yeah,
did it.
yeah.
You did it in second year, right?
I
was
believe
it
it
the
might have
second
been
year?
third year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I did it around second year.
Yeah.
But that was a highly practical course. Shout out to Anadi. She's
Yep.
one of the best.
Anadi is great. Yep.
Yeah, so it was highly practical, and what I liked about it is that I could go and apply those skills immediately. And as I said,
Yeah.
eventually I was freelancing as kind of like a marketing consultant for a little while, where I was designing. One of the things I was doing was designing websites. So that was very, very helpful. So I'd say that course and that program, they were quite helpful. What was the other part of the question? The beginning?
It was just, I was just essentially asking, landing a role in technology
Yeah.
or tech marketing can be incredibly competitive. So how did you position yourself when job searching?
Yeah, I'd say I position myself as someone who is quite knowledgeable and confident in what they know, and people can smell. Recruiters can smell. They can
Yeah,
detect
yeah.
when you're not very confident.
Exactly.
Or when you're just talking crap. So I try to educate myself as much as possible in my area, and I ensured that when I was speaking with recruiters or hiring managers, that I spoke with confidence and I used the knowledge and experience that I gathered. And I'd also say another way that I positioned myself was, listen, I'm a new grad. I don't know everything. I don't think there's an expectation for me to know everything. However, if there's a problem, I'm going to do whatever it takes to figure it out. I'm not going to be one who falls and gives up easily.
Yeah, stands idly by, yeah.
But I'll figure it out. And so communicating that in interviews, I believe that really helped to position me very well, where people are like, yeah, I like her energy,
Yeah.
I like what she's giving off.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, confidence is key, and that's not only when it comes to professional development. It's for any walk of life, really.
Yeah.
It shows that you understand what you're talking about, that you can put your best feet forward in any given circumstance.
That's true. And if there were times when I felt myself kind of, wavering in my confidence, and I had to kind of like dig deeper to get a better understanding of where that's really coming from. And I realized that my confidence got shaky. And even now, whenever I realize my confidence is getting a bit shaky, it means that there's some gap in my knowledge. There's probably more research that I need to do in order to kind of like help to build my confidence where I can speak in on this area. So if anyone is kind of feeling like they're not very confident in something, try to understand where that is coming from, the root, and then address it from there.
Exactly. Understanding your gaps, your personal gaps in knowledge. It might be a little daunting, or it might make you think, it might make you feel a little silly, a little stupid.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's essential to bridge those gaps in knowledge in order to advance yourself.
Yeah.
So moving on to practical career advice,
Okay.
with your experience in requirements gathering and process improvement, what advice would you give recent grads on building strong project management skills and adapting quickly to different project needs?
Project management skills. Project management, it really, there's a lot that comes with it, but I do think that you have to be highly disciplined because you're helping to steer the project forward. You're helping to really lead without a title, in essence. And that I found is can be quite difficult. It's an art to itself, leading without a title, because you are working with people who they're not reporting to you. And it's not like you're commanding them to do anything, but you have to learn how to influence them. So I think it's important to learn how to influence people. That's very important. And one of the ways that I realize that that has worked for me to help to influence others is through relationship building. Yeah. So whenever I start a new company, I always do coffee chats with people.
Yeah.
As many people as possible, building that connection, just getting to learn more about them if they want to know more about me. That really helps. So you have that connection from the beginning. So even in the current role that I'm in, that has served me very, very well. So I'd say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the worst things you can do as someone who's a team leader is be intimidating, be someone who you're afraid to come talk to about issues within the project itself. And by getting to know the people on a little bit more of a personal level, it essentially gives them a sense of security and allows them to divulge more information or just essentially be a better person at whatever task you have.
Yep. And I also would add that it's important to be highly organized.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? Because people often refer to you like, what happened at that meeting? Can you sum it up? Where do I find this? Where do I find that? That's extremely important in project management.
Yeah, divulging information is very important to make sure the right channels get what they need as soon as possible. When negotiating compensation, many grads feel hesitant. Yeah. How did you approach these conversations early on in your career, and what advice would you give in navigating them?
Yeah, so I do believe that having mentors are very, very important. And I have a few mentors, but there was a particular mentor that helped me when it came on to salary negotiation. So I remember when I just finished college, and I think 3 to 4 months after, I got a job offer. However, the salary wasn't really what I was expecting based on, in the interviews when we were talking, it wasn't what I was expecting. And so I was very hesitant to accept it. I know, yes, I'm just finishing school and people are like, take whatever comes your way. But then when I shared that with my mentor, one of the first things that he said to me is, one, research. Research is your best friend. You have to research to understand the industry and what they are, the pay range for that particular role in the industry that you're in, right? The second thing is understanding your value. That was very, very important. Yeah. And when it came on to understanding my value, he had me list out all the accomplishments that I've had, from the experiences that I had whether it was projects, whether it was internships, whether it was part-time roles, freelancing as a marketer, listing them out and listing the results that I accomplished from those. And so the reason that he encouraged me to do that is because when you can see the things that you are, in a sense, bringing to the table that you have to offer to the company, then one, it helps to bring confidence, but also it helps to build your case when you are, about to negotiate your salary. And so another thing that he suggested that I did was to have a figure in my mind. This is the figure that I want, and to list out the reasons why, I deserve this, to help to build your case. And so I did all of that. But one of the things that he warned me is that sometimes when you decide to negotiate your salary, one, he asked me, if you don't get this figure, will you continue with the job, or are you comfortable walking away? And for me, I was like, I don't know. Because, you're just leaving school and you're so excited about, the first role. What, you're just going to walk away
It's
after
a big
you,
question.
After you've made, you've given the effort to be, landing an offer, basically. And so he really just coached me. It was more a mental thing where I don't think I really understood the value that I was bringing to that company. I was just in the mindset of, I just finished college. Should I just take anything that comes my way? And he said something to me. He said, when you know your value, you will not just accept anything.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I'm like, oh, this is a lot of pressure. But I went ahead and, I reached out to them and I'm like, I hit them with the facts. This is the range for similar roles in the industry. These are the experiences that I have, the results of these experiences. Would you be able to meet me at this particular range? And eventually there was some back and forth that he helped to coach me through, but eventually they rescinded the offer.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing your worth is so important, because not only does it build self-confidence, but also allows you to, get higher paying positions.
But they rescinded it, and I was very happy. I was very happy. It may sound weird. I was very happy because I think I finally started understanding my true worth, my value that I'm bringing to a company. And so the next time around, when I had to negotiate my salary, every pointer that he gave me the first time, I literally wrote out a whole what I'm going to say, and the reasons, to justify that in a sense. And I sent an email, and they gave me what I was asking for. Yeah. So I would always encourage you, don't be afraid to ask for what you want, right? We're not saying that you should be all outrageous and just throw any figures out there. But once you've done your research, once you understand what you're offering to that company, and you know that it's important and you're going to solve X, Y, Z for that company, I'd say don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Because if you don't ask, I also made the mistake once of not asking for what I want, and I accepted the role. I was so miserable. I resented the role. I'm like, I'm doing all this work, but I'm not being compensated properly. And eventually I had to leave. And so that was a valuable experience for me in, again, asking for what I want. And I also learned that if you don't ask for what you want, the answer will always be no.
Exactly,
so,
yep.
Ask.
I mean, the worst they can say is no.
Yeah, and usually if a company has gotten to the stage where they're extending an offer to you, it means that they want you.
Exactly.
Right? And so if they really want you, then I think it's fair to they'll just meet you there.
Absolutely. So as someone who completed the Fellowship Circle program with Accelerate Her Future, could you share insights on building connections within that industry and how that helped you build connections?
Yeah, so Accelerate Her Future, it's a career accelerator program for Indigenous, Black, and racialized women in business and tech. Again, I'm in business and tech, so that aligned well for me. So that was... they actually celebrated their 5-year anniversary this year. And so that was an amazing program for me. I was a part, as you mentioned, the Fellowship Circle. So that was about an 8 to 10 week program for college. I believe it was women who are still in college and new grads. So they would be like the mentees. So it was a group. It was a large group, but in during the different sessions, we would break out into like more intimate groups with about 5 or 6 other mentees, and then each group was assigned with a mentor, and the mentor was a woman that is later on in their career, more senior in their career in business and tech. And so they would have different topics that they would cover. And they would also bring keynote speakers. So whether it has to do with navigating the corporate world, negotiating your salary, whatever it is that was relevant to us in that point of our career journey, they would just create that space to share nuggets with us, to answer our questions, to provide guidance.
Yeah.
And so that community has been very helpful. It was actually that community that connected me with a few persons to eventually land my first role. So that's the power of networking. It's very important, because I didn't know about that company, but someone in that community knew I was job searching, saw the role, and said that I think you would be a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very important. And actually, they have reopened the fellowship circle. I think applications are open now. So if anyone is interested, you are an Indigenous, Black, or racialized woman, and you're interested in joining the AHF Fellowship Circle, applications are open now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, personally, I'm not able to apply, but I think that anyone who is, it's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it is.
Could you talk about some of the common challenges you faced early on in your career and what approaches that helped you overcome them?
Yeah, there were a few. So, one, you send out a lot of job applications and so forth. Oftentimes you get ghosted by recruiters. Oftentimes you put so much effort into the process and then, oh, sorry, we went with someone else. And so those, I went through a lot of those. But I think two experiences really challenged me. I got like a back-to-back layoff.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And the first time I kind of sensed that it was coming based on the company's numbers. But the second time I knew it would eventually come. But I just never expected it so early because, I was in tech, and if you know anything about tech right now, it's
very volatile.
Yes. So I was impacted by 2 layoffs. And in those moments, you start to, like for me, I started to question myself, like, what am I doing wrong? Did I do everything in my power to ensure that I could have prevented this from happening? Those experiences or those challenges taught me it's important as you go out into the job world, you have to be mentally tough. You have to be resilient. You may get 9 no's, 10 no's, 20 no's, but just always remember that you're just looking for that one yes. And don't take anything personal. If you get ghosted, if your offer gets rescinded, if they decide to go with someone else, do not take it personally.
Yep.
It's not necessarily a matter of your worth, but sometimes you're just not the right fit for it. And eventually, I do have this belief, even though I consider myself as a pragmatic optimist, I do have this belief that you'll always land where you're supposed to land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Persistence is key. If you fall, just get back up. Try again. Yeah.
Yeah, you can cry, you can shed some tears, you can sometimes I threw mini tantrums and I'm like, I've given up. And then the next day I'm back at it again.
Yeah,
because
there's always something on the horizon.
If you give up, then
you won't go anywhere.
Exactly.
What's the point? All right. So finally, looking towards the future, are there any emerging digital marketing or project marketing trends that you think will significantly impact the industry? How can new grads prepare themselves for the changes in a digital environment that is continuing to evolve at a rapid pace?
I'd say as the digital environment starts to evolve, like every day there's something new, you have to have an insatiable appetite for learning. Be willing to put yourself in uncomfortable positions to learn something new, whether it's a tool, whatever it is, just have that insatiable appetite for learning, and be comfortable with uncertainty, and be okay with not having it all figured out. I mean, even in my role, like I don't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Like my leaders, they don't have it all figured out, but we show up every day and we make an effort to figure it out, together as a team. So just have that ferocious appetite to just learn, and to also just be willing to be uncomfortable.
Exactly. Sometimes our best selves come forward when we are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it forces us to, be the best.
Yeah, nothing spectacular really happens when you're comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. And so that wraps up today's episode. Again, we'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our guest, Michallia Marks, for sharing her invaluable insights and experiences with us. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And I'm sure our listeners have gained a lot from your journey and your advice.
So.
I sure have. I know that.
So.
So to everyone still listening, thank you for joining us today on the Degree to Dollars podcast. We hope you found today's discussion helpful and inspiring. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll continue to explore the path from education to a thriving career. Until then, take care and have a great day.